Oh, hey man, what's up?
Not a lot, just getting ready for this Pocahontas review. I bet you're excited, right?
I guess?
Really? I figured you'd be excited to talk about something that touches, your people.
What do you mean?
Well, you said you were Indian.
I am?
So, Pocahontas must be a big deal in your community then, right?
Ian, I'm not that kind of Indian. And if I were, I probably wouldn't say I was Indian.
Oh, you're tech support Indian, not casino Indian. My bad, man.
I'm not sure whether I'm offended or just impressed by how you managed to cover up general ignorance with, well, frankly, racial ignorance.
Thanks, man. I'm glad I impressed you.
I have very serious regrets about agreeing to be on this show now.
Well, it's too late for that now, sucker. Anyway, I'll let you get back to whatever you're up to. Talk to you later. Gentlemen, the time's come once again.
Hello, tech support, how may I help you? Yes, I can help you get your computer working. First, can you make sure to check if it is on?
Oh shit! Yo, that was totally it.
To discuss things.
You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you ever footsteps of strangers,
do it, bro.
A little bit of both. Can you sing with all voices the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind?
Well, we are talking about it.
God, tell me you're recording because I want to start right now.
I am.
Milan.
Recording now.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to this episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is Milan Jeptic 1992 and Steve Baxi.
Hello.
And gentlemen, I have a question for you. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon?
Yeah.
And for that matter, what is a blue corn moon?
I think that's a euphemism for anal sex.
Okay.
I mean,
think
given
it
all
is.
the wind imagery, might as well be.
Might as well, yeah.
Anyway, today, gentlemen, we are discussing the 1995 Disney film Pocahontas.
Oh yes.
Or as I like to call it, the 1995 Lie to Our Children, Pocahontas. No, so here on Geeky Gentlemen, we are celebrating Geeky Gentlemen History Month, since this is the month of November when these videos are being posted, and November is famous, or infamous rather, for having the Holiday of Lies, or Thanksgiving as it's more popularly known, where we give thanks to the native peoples for letting us commit all the genocides and
all of the genocide.
and taking their land, and that's why we're watching this movie, because I thought it'd be incredibly relevant.
Oh, and by the
so
way,
last week,
I am extremely hungover, and I think that is appropriate because we're talking about Indians.
Indeed.
See, I've just noticed I'm a horrible racist, and it feels good to let it out. I hate all brown people, even though my father is brown as well. See,
your
it's
father
so
isn't brown.
He's some, I don't know, I think his grandma was raped by a Turk, so I guess he's kind of, like my little brother, my little brother gets mistaken for Muslim all the time. My mom's Russian, so I'm the white one of the family.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, all that aside.
Yep.
So
I can be as racist as I want to be. Ha ha.
Not really, no. Most of the world identifies you as white, so you're in fact not allowed to be racist anymore.
That sucks.
Steve and I can be racist. Steve and I had a very racist intro to this episode that I thought was hilarious.
It was quite hilarious.
Yeah.
Milan got left out of the intro because fuck Milan, no one likes him.
I'm a cisgendered white male.
I think it's hilarious, though, that we're talking about racism and Mel Gibson's in this movie.
Right?
Oh
Isn't
my
that such a
God.
weird little fluke of, time?
Oh my god.
This would be so
Some of
much
these
less
things-
funny 5 years ago.
Oh
yeah,
my
it
God.
really would. But anyway, so yeah, we're talking about Pocahontas, and this is just one of those movies where they started out with such noble intentions, but as we all know, the path to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, this movie is racist, but not in the way that you'd think. You know, you hear Disney's making a movie about Native Americans, and that's probably the only time I'm going to use the term Native American. Sorry, Steve.
Because I'm totally Native American.
Yeah, it's the same shit. You're brown, you've been subjugated by white people, mostly the British. It all works out. I don't know what the sound is on Milan's end, but can you mute your mic till you got it under control? Milan, microphone, mute it.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyway, there's so much background noise. Get rid of it.
Sorry, my mouse has died. It like it's on, but it doesn't want to move.
I don't care. What do you need it for?
Well, to
Anyway.
mute the mic and do shit.
Okay, fine, whatever. So anyway, like, where was I? I'm completely off track now.
Good intentions?
Yeah, this movie was made with such good intentions, and it's not racist in the same way that you'd think. Like, you think Disney making a movie about Native Americans, you think, oh great, they're all gonna be like red, and they're gonna be, you know, dancing around fires constantly and killing cowboys, and that's not what we get at all. And it's admirable in that sense.
What
but
makes the red man red?
Yeah, it's like that's like the kind of admirable of good job. You didn't fuck up in the way that we expected you to. But it finds entirely different ways to screw up. But that being said, I actually have surprisingly a fairly positive view of this movie, because if you ignore history, it's not half bad.
It's nowhere near as bad as everyone says it is.
Not at all. The thing is, if you completely detach yourself from history and the world and just...
Well, no. I mean, even knowing the history of the Native Americans and colonization and such, it's nowhere near as atrocious as everyone portrays it as.
Not at all. The thing is, it's... The reason I, like... There's certain parts of it, like, the art style I found to be, like, surprisingly bland for Disney. Like, you had some nice color... Yeah, like... Some elements were nice, like, oh, we're gonna draw Pocahontas as being made out of wind. That's pretty cool. But I'm like,
that was cool.
Yeah, but the thing is, knowing the actual story, like history-wise, Pocahontas was 12, and and fucking.
Which, if you think of her as 12, this movie gets a lot creepier really fast.
Yeah, and John Smith was a portly, bearded redhead who liked to drink. And that it's just like, just imagine just exactly the same thing, all the same lines, everything the same, except imagine Pocahontas as being 12, and John Smith as being just like a burly, red-headed, bearded dude, just chasing after a 12-year-old girl. Hey, come here, let me hold your hand in the wind. Like, no, I gotta go. Oh my god. There's a joke done by this fucking British comedian about the, Mel Gibson Braveheart. Well, another Mel Gibson movie. The thing is, Braveheart, William Wallace, was actually, like, that princess that he has sex with in the movie, she was 12 at the time as well. So, yeah.
Mel Gibson's got a thing for 12-year-olds.
Evidently.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't, like, if they actually did genuinely do the Pocahontas story, which I'm not familiar, like, I'm only partially familiar with. I only seen, like, a animated special about it when I first came to Australia. And it's just like, yeah, she's 12. And if Disney did do that, it would have been a rather good story. But instead, they decided, like, hey, you know what solves racial tensions? Some brown pussy, That sweet Indian pussy,
As
but she's
crude
12.
as that final statement is, it's pretty reflective. See, here's the thing. This movie isn't bad because it's historically inaccurate. That doesn't mean jack shit as far as movies like this are concerned, because we know they're going to get a lot of things wrong, because they're not going in with the intention to get things right. The problem is, they want to have their cake and eat it too, of making this a very fair depiction of both sides having their issues, and then at the same time being too clean about it.
Yeah, that, and they really oversimplify a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, in particular, my favorite line in this movie, and you gotta keep in mind that this movie won Academy Awards for its songs. My favorite line, and it is a lyric, "They're different than us, which means they must be evil." And, Steve, you cannot deny the logic of that.
Well, see,
it's perfect, it's perfectly founded logic, man.
well, see,
They're
that's what
different
makes it
than
work,
us,
though.
so
Like,
they
everyone
must be
criticizes
evil.
that very specific song, but the point of that song is that it's racist and it doesn't make sense.
No, I get that, but it's just that line, it oversimplifies it too much to the point where it's like you can't take the motivation seriously anymore.
Not at all, no. And like the whole, it's so hokey. Like it's like I agree with you. The genuine aspect of like, hey, let's just do our best to tell the story. I'm like, then do the story. You don't have to change it. Just be honest to the story. And like, why this story in particular? Why just do some sort of Native American fairy tale? It's Disney, but no, let's just bring in race into it. Let's just do the Pocahontas story. That's interesting. That's admirable. But make her a hot 25-year-old and make John Smith fucking hot blonde Mel Gibson. And fucking Mel Gibson, dude.
Nostalgia Chick had this amazing line. I watched her review of this movie. She had this amazing line the first time you see John Smith. It's like, a man so potent, he has to ride a phallic symbol to get on the boat. Because he gets on the cannon to go up on the boat.
Every time he's not chasing after a native pussy, I mean, he's just always posing. It's like, I'm going to pose in a heroic manner. I'm like, dude, oh, Jesus. It's so weird, because that little speech he has as he's climbing after Pocahontas to the tree is like, oh, we improved the lives of hundreds of savages. Like, savages? Oh, savages doesn't mean what people think it means, you know? It's like, it's so weird. It's like he's apologizing for a crime he has not yet committed, or a thing that he's, like, it's just so funny. Mel Gibson is a delightful racist, and I love him. I don't care what anybody says. It's fucking,
the delightful part kind of went away when he got drunk, like most things. But no,
yeah, well,
here's the thing about this movie for me, though. Like, I actually do kind of enjoy it, if for no other reason than it is trying to do the right thing. And like I said, path to hell, man. But I appreciate the idea of trying to show a very a very positive depiction of Native American culture, and to paint the culture, the European culture, in a very negative light, because that's something that doesn't get done enough. Like, people say, oh, it's a cliche, and I'm like, yeah, but still, when it comes to the actual history, no one really does it. Dances with Wolves is the only thing I can think of where it's the actual history that we're talking about, where they portray it in that manner. So I don't know. I really appreciate that. And I hear a lot of people say Pocahontas and John Smith are really bland characters. I don't agree with that. I really enjoyed them and their relationship. I thought that was pretty nice. And magical wind that gives you the ability to speak to each other in different languages aside, I really did enjoy all their interactions. No, fuck you, Milan. That's why I wasn't able to get a language credit in college, is because I was not able to access the magical winds, okay? It's a bitch to get that AP level training in 2 seconds. So that was really hard work on those characters' parts.
I got a joke. I'm interested now. So if this magical wind existed, then this is an alternative history. Like, dude, by the end, everyone understands each other. Like, we're assuming that, this magical wind, allows them to communicate. And I'm like, in that case, and with this whole sacrifice thing, yada, yada, is this, where everything turns out okay? Is this, a split universe where everything didn't turn out shit? This is the Disney universe. There was no genocide. The magical winds, made them communicate. And,
Well, I actually did, here's a mark of how much I actually did end up enjoying this movie. Just because it was on Netflix, I watched the sequel, which, for anyone that's interested, it's basically My Fair Lady, but with racism. I shit you not, it really is. It's like they take her over to England and she's got to act civilized, so they teach her how to act like a white woman, so it's really fucking racist.
Yeah.
She's got to like dress up and do the hair and the dress thing and learn how to address the king and all this stuff. So it is seriously My Fair Lady, but instead of songs, you get racism. And they put powder on her face so she turns white. And John Smith's not in the movie for like the first 30 minutes because they have to find a way to contrive the actual history of Pocahontas marrying a totally different dude.
She marries a totally different dude?
Yeah, John Smith, like, it's debatable if John Smith ever even met Pocahontas. And she married a guy named John Rolfe, but fuck it.
She certainly likes her Johns, doesn't she?
I guess.
Evidently.
And I guess that means she likes going to the bathroom. I don't know. Stupid pun. Sorry.
No,
but it's like,
no.
In no surprising turn of events, the sequel's nowhere near as good as the first one, which when you look at the first one, which is ultimately just kind of okay, enjoyable, you know.
And it's weird because it doesn't look like a Disney film. It looks more of a, like, if this was done by, like, what's that, like, DreamWorks? Yeah, you would expect, like, at least to be one more, like, hey, I'm a black comedian doing the voice of a buffalo. But, like, yeah, the art style really does look more on DreamWorks. But I guess they wanted to stay away from that more, you know, curvy caricature style that Disney was known for, especially for Aladdin that came up just before this. So it's like, let's just, like, we have history with Indians, so let's just do the exact opposite and make everyone look and act and feel human.
Yeah, see, like, that's where I think the major, like, racist part of this comes in, because... Like, here's the background on this. So when when I announced that we were doing Pocahontas last week, Haley was in the room next to me, and she's like, and Steve goes, you know, oh man, I've heard it's like really racist, but I haven't seen it since I was like 5. I'm like, me either. And so we're all excited about it, and she's like, it's not racist, at least not towards Indians. It's really racist towards white people. And first note, you cannot be racist towards white people. I'll explain why eventually.
Why?
Second note, I will. Let me just get to my more important note. Second more important note, it's not racist in that it's insensitive or, you know, offensive in how it portrays the Native Americans. It's racist in that, well, I've got black friends now kind of way. It's racist in that it's trying so hard to show that Disney's evolved and moved on. And while I appreciate the effort, it's like, okay, I really appreciate that you're trying to show this really advanced, really intelligent Native American culture. That's great. But at the same time, the Native Americans weren't that. They were a primitive culture.
I mean, it's funny because, like, when, like, a Pocahontas' dad comes back, he's essentially back from war. Like, we decimated the whatchamacallit tribe. Ha-ha! But it's okay because they're not the right kind of Indians. Like, they're the bad Indians. We don't even see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird things. Like, there's, you know, you're trying too hard because, like, you're going from this, you know, very offensive, I'm sure there's an old Walt Disney cartoon, if I can think of it, where...
Peter Pan.
Isn't it...
Peter Pan.
Is it Peter Pan or... No, isn't there one in Pinocchio, too, where they, like, really friggin' offensive Indians? Or not Peter... Yeah, Pinocchio, I'm sure there's something.
No, Peter Pan. The whole song, what makes the red man red? Something about kissing and dancing and, yeah.
Okay, alright, my bad. Yeah, like...
Dude, in Peter Pan, they literally have... I think it's just from the book. But they literally have a little English white boy pointing at, like, some black feet, and he's like, the Aborigine is, like, you know, very cunning but not intelligent. Essentially going through this whole, I think just quoting the book, essentially. And just, as he's, but the thing with that is... Well,
dude, no, let me finish my point.
Okay, fine.
So, like, you have this history with Disney of, like, these really offensive portrayals of Native Americans, and now they're doing this where it's like they're the frickin', I don't know, like they're frickin' this idyllic civilization in a frickin' Star Wars or Star Trek universe, you know? They're just too perfect.
How are they perfect? But dude, they're literally back from war. I don't think it's like personally, like, I thought it was going to be a lot more. I didn't think it's racist. It's just kind of like, it's not racist. It's just like, I'm like, honey, just do the story. It's silly. It oversimplifies things, and it portrays both the Native Americans and the whites in like, hey, it's just that one white guy who was the bad one. Like, it was so unsubtle. As the main white bad guy in the purple goes onto the ship, he's doing that in the foreground. In the background, he's coming onto the ship, but in the foreground, you see a rat crawling on a rope onto the ship, and like, oh, that's fucking subtle. It's like, I want gold! You want gold too, lads? Fucking Injuns, right? Yeah!
It made me laugh so hard when they just start fucking digging for gold, like, right off the ship. I'm like, guys, that's not how digging for gold works. You want to go find, like, a mountain, or a cave,
yeah,
you know?
Why would you ask the Native Americans, whose barter system has nothing to do with minerals? It's just like, here's some corn, okay, here's an axe. It's, like, purely, like, it's Celtic, it's basic Celt, economy. And it's not...
Yeah, it's not just that, though. There's just, like, a lot in this that deals with the way they portray the Native Americans as too intelligent or too... just, it's over the top. It's ridiculous. I'm like, no, they were a primitive tribal culture. They didn't have ideas like this yet.
What do you mean ideas like this yet?
I'm trying to think of, like, a specific example, but... Alright, so... When he calls her a savage, and when they Native Americans themselves use the term savage in the song Savages, and they call the white men barbarians and all this, like, they would certainly be offended by the way that they treated the earth and everything, but they wouldn't think of the idea of demeaning them as people, as being less than human yet. Like, I don't think that they were sophisticated enough to develop racism, which is a weird thing to say.
Interesting.
Steve, you want to throw in anywhere?
Too dumb to be racist.
I don't know.
Not too
I don't
dumb,
know
just
if I'm,
it's
like,
not...
coming down on this anywhere. Mostly because you guys are talking about, like, how it doesn't portray some of this stuff accurately or it's too clean, but it's a fantasy. Like, it's meant to be a fantasy. And I don't think any of those criticisms really hold water because it's not intending to do that.
Exactly. I mean,
no,
like the shaman actually has magical powers. It's like, oh, I'm gonna heal a bullet wound by shaking a fucking turtle shell with some nuts in it. Oh, this wound is bad. Like, how about you just take the fucking thing out of his leg? Like,
Again, it's a fantasy.
I can make fucking...
Like things like that are just part of the package. The problem is more so that both sides are just so underdeveloped.
It's not just that, though. Like, yeah, I agree that it's obviously oversimplified and underdeveloped and all that. But I'm just talking about the overall tone is too... It's too nice and it's too clean and wishy-washy that it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. That it's like Disney trying to show, oh, we've moved on, we're not that company anymore. We have... It's like, we hire black people now, see? That's the feeling I get for it. It just kind of leaves a taste in your mouth of, like, you're trying too hard.
No, that's fair. It's just... It's not a matter of this movie isn't what Pocahontas actually is. It's like you said, it's a matter of they're trying way too hard, and in some ways they're not trying hard enough. And it's really strange to say that, because they've got that song where both sides are calling each other savages, and they don't understand each other, so they're evil. And that's a good song. Like, that whole song is designed so you realize that both sides are ignorant of each other. The problem is, the British are just kind of sheep. And they just go wherever the wind blows. And I guess it's a mixed metaphors there. Because they're either back John Smith or they back the governor dude. And then the Native Americans, they have no character. They're just, well, we want our land. Someone shows up, let's fight them. Well, let's not fight them, okay. Everything just resolves itself too easily, and it's not a problem with this movie being racist as much as there's no plot.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, because, like, it is so wishy-washy about what goes on, and, there's all this, it has this really big attempt in the final act to do nonviolent resolution, which is kind of the idea is like, oh, if we had just never started fighting in the first place, this all wouldn't be there wouldn't be such a large gash, and a large just what's the word I want? A large gap of trust between these two races now if we just talked in the first place instead of fighting each other.
Yeah. And that's so weird because, like, hey, can we have your land and you can, like, be our servants or like, just go away into the desert and we'll have all this nice trees and stuff? And, like, oh, sure, white man, here's some corn. Thank you. Oh, see, this is how God intended it to be. The lower races, worshiping us as gods. That's wonderful.
And see, it's weird because this movie has moments that, like, it clearly knows what it's talking about historically, and then it just, like, it seems that they think that by mentioning those things that it makes it okay to do what they're doing. Like, the Indians attack and Rathbone, or whatever the fuck his name is in his tent, like, wondering, well, why else would they attack us? They must know that we're here for the gold, and they're hiding it all for themselves. And the, like, dude's assistant goes, oh, yeah, he's like, why else would they attack us? I don't know, because we took their land and their food and their, and we chopped down their trees? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. It's like, they mention that, I'm like, yeah, that's probably why they attacked you. But they don't, like, it seems that they think by mentioning that they've sidestepped the fact that that's clearly what is going on at the core of this, I don't know if I'm making any sense. Someone acknowledge my thought.
I think you are. It's hard, because this movie is not that complicated, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, when you say it like that, then sure, they kind of address what the root conflict between both sides is, but that's not really the conflict of the movie. That's just kind of there in dialogue once, and then the whole movie just kind of spins out from there, and it doesn't really do anything to make any side, like, real or important. Like, they acknowledge that the British are, I don't want to say sheep again, because that's just one characteristic, but they have this weird violent culture, but they don't do anything with that. And then they've got, like, this weird everyman and John Smith, and he's not consistent with anybody else. And so if the entire flock of British are just sheep, then why are they exploring and conquering in the first place? And the whole God, gold, and glory thing doesn't make sense anymore. And then you get to the Native Americans, and they evidently love nature, but they love nature because it gives them magical powers, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, and, like, I think this movie would have been a lot better if they just went for a straight bad guy, good guy situation, as opposed to there's, like, one bad guy manipulating one side.
Yeah, that's really the issue, because the British were evil and terrible, and Native Americans were not that civilized and not that smart. But you really have to pick a side here. You can't just say that, at the end of the day, ignorance is the enemy, because it's not that simple.
Yeah, but
it's really not.
Yeah, but the thing with that is that you didn't want to offend anyone. If they had, like, the white people would be the bad guys, the nationalistic Americans would just go like, hey, oh yeah, like, white people are always the bad guy. Oh, and if they went, the opposite direction with the Native Americans, all the white liberals and the will just go like, oh yeah, let's just paint the fucking Native Americans as being evil, because truth be told, the Native Americans are just used to this, like, oh, the white man made us into a racist cartoon? Same old, same old. They wouldn't give a fuck. But it's just
you gotta put that into context, because this movie came out in 1995, and at that point, you wouldn't get the response of the white people think it's racist, Native Americans don't. Because that's when we got things like Black History Month and the acknowledgement that Native Americans were treated poorly and stuff. So I think that would have worked better.
Steve, you're completely... Steve, you're glossing over, like, clearly the biggest example of Native American social progress in this country. You're forgetting about the Crying Indian.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That is clearly, like, the Crying Indian is like the Statue of Liberty to the Native Americans.
Is it now?
Yes, it is. There are pictures of the Crying Indian in every Native American church equivalent.
Have you guys seen the movie The New World?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, it's a Colin Farrell movie from 2005, and it's essentially the Pocahontas story. It's
Okay.
literally this story, except in live action, and it's crazy how much better it is. Because it does the same thing of Pocahontas is older, and then she falls in love with a really handsome-looking John Smith, and it's this Disney-esque romance, but it doesn't hide anything. It's very clear about the fact that the British were terrible people that colonized and ravaged and killed lands, and Native Americans weren't necessarily this great, amazing culture that knew everything. It was extremely fair about those things, and it's got critical acclaim all over the place.
Is it
So
Mel
I think
Gibson?
the problem is Disney was afraid of appearing racist, and they forget the fact that honesty would have fixed that.
Yeah, because, like, you can't call something racist if you're accurately portraying it. You know what you do? You get someone that has either a background in actual Native American history, or even better, a member of the tribe to write, like, the scenes with the Native Americans. And you show, like, the actual tribal practices on screen.
And
so you could understand...
Disney has in that is that Native Americans actually approach Disney saying, hey, look, we can help you make this accurate. We can tell you how this stuff works so we can better portray our culture. And Disney refused.
Yeah, like...
instead
you know what
they're
would've
like,
been...
hey, look, let's make smoke animals. Like, let's just make fucking the thing to scare away Dementors from Harry Potter. We'll just have them do that. Like, oh, look how magical and wise they are.
Well, like, here's the thing.
Yeah, isn't...
if you wanted to do, like, this, you know, ignorance is the reason that this war, or whatever you want to call it, started, then you accurately show what the tribal practices were like, but you show the context of why they were doing them, and you show that the British people witnessed the tribal practices without the context. That's all you need. If you want to show, well, the British weren't actually that evil, they were just guys out for themselves, and they saw this, and they got the shit scared out of them because they were also too ignorant to understand what was going on. Yeah. And the Native Americans were just a very, like, tribal people still, they were nomads still, so they didn't have the complexity of thought to be able to understand what was going on, what the British were doing.
Wait a second.
Then you have a very good sense of, like, you have a very good way to actually accurately portray ignorance as the enemy.
Yeah. But the thing is, if that were to happen, like, either somebody was going to get pissed off. It was just like, oh, we don't want to piss off the left or the right. So they just kind of went with just overly bland. It's like, hey, this way we won't offend anyone. Here, look.
And you know what? It backfired
Exactly.
because the movie didn't do well enough.
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird because, like...
This wasn't a big financial hit, guys.
Not at all. Not at all. Oh, but you know, obviously for the executives, it's like, oh, it's because it had those fucking engines in it. They're budget killers. No more engines in Disney movies. That's it. And that's how they do it. I mean, it's just like, it's terrible because we're never going to have another Native American in a Disney movie ever. Ever.
Probably not, and we're probably never going to have a black princess again.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Princess and the Frog didn't do well.
And that's too bad, because that's a fucking beautiful movie. It's fucking gorgeous. It has a, you know... yeah.
Wait, Juan, you and I did Princess and the Frog. Do you remember, did we talk about the race thing there, too? Like, it really seems that Disney's trying so hard lately to make up for its past. And, like, for all Disney executives listening...
because they're listening.
Yes, obviously. I mean, everyone listens to Geeky Gentleman that works in Hollywood.
Yeah,
we're the inside scoop. For all Disney executives listening, your history is something that happened. Acknowledge it, move on.
No, it's
write
not.
Stories.
No.
Write stories. Do not write black stories. Do not write Native American stories. Do not write Arabian stories. Just move the fuck on and write stories again.
Well, to Disney's credit, they have gotten a lot better the past few years.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Well, like, what's not counting Aladdin, what was their other one after Aladdin? Because that was actually fairly well done, though, you know. If you want to look at accurate Middle Eastern culture, we could have another discussion.
No, but the thing, the thing with Aladdin, they actually did, you know, the whole Disney thing. They went back to the Arabian Nights. It was a fairy tale. And
I'm talking about like So what have they done since then, though? Because obviously you don't count this. What have they done since then, Steve?
Well, I mean, not in the realm of just strictly 2D animation, but like Big Hero 6, Frozen, Tangled, stuff like that.
Frozen is the place where white people come from.
No, I'm talking about like what have they done that's
Disney
racially
is not as bad as it used to be. It's also a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely.
People have a whole bunch of nostalgia for things like The Lion King. The Lion King's not that great of a movie.
but it's Hamlet.
Nah, it's a really generic Hamlet. But like, I mean, still, we've got like Atlantis, and we have Lilo and Stitch, and we have
I love Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch
what's
is
it
so
called?
great.
Tangled. We had Wreck-It Ralph. We had Frozen. We had Big
Tangled
Hero
was
6. These
disappointing.
are all really good movies.
Yeah.
Tangled was so disappointing.
Why?
So was Frozen. Just the villain plots in Tangled and Frozen, and to a certain extent, Princess and the Frog were so to me.
Oh, come on. Fucking Princess...
First of all, Frozen does not need a villain whatsoever. Tangled has a fairly interesting villain, and then she dies, and Rapunzel just doesn't give two fucks. I'm like, okay, I get that she turned out to be evil and everything, but bitch, that was your mother for, like, your entire life.
Yeah.
You should feel just a little bit more about that.
Okay, not saying that they're perfect movies, because we shouldn't go into a review of those or anything, but in the sense that Disney's at least made a comeback.
No, I get that. I thought when you said that, I thought you were talking about, like, racially again. Like, that they've been telling stories that are good independent of their racial context.
Well, aren't they,
no, my bad.
All of those movies that came out have nothing to do with race whatsoever. They're just movies.
Yeah, I
got
gotcha.
Yeah,
but that's the thing, is they have nothing to do with race. They don't have characters in them that have, complexion. They all have white characters.
No.
So what has Disney done that's got like to be fair, I haven't seen Big Hero 6. What has Disney done recently that has a character non-Caucasian that's good?
Like
really
good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so see, that's the thing. I haven't seen Big Hero 6.
Yeah, Princess and the Frog. Once again, it decided... Well, they did have...
No.
Well, I liked it because it was just add fun, characters. They're like, oh, they're not white. Interesting. And
I liked it more than this, but at the same time, I still felt like the kind of feeling that I'm getting from this, of it's too much apologizing for Disney's history.
I don't think it was apologizing. I didn't get that whole feel at all. Like, they did have that whole, like, hey, I want to buy this fucking rundown place. Oh, well, no, we got a better offer from a white person. Sorry, sweetheart. And it's just like, they were honest about that. Like, but, like, sure, it wasn't like, oh, let us show the scars on the back of the black people. Like, look at that. That's Disney doing,
That's not what I want, though. That's not what I want. See, here's the thing. I'm going to actually make a point about Princess and the Frog and Pocahontas simultaneously. They're too aware of not only the faults of Disney, but the faults of our society, and they certainly should be, but they're too much, and this is weird, even for Princess and the Frog, they're too much in the forefront. It needs to be something that's there, but also not important to the characters, because you know what? They deal with it every day. Why would it be more important in this story than in any other?
Do you deal with racism every day, Ian?
No, not racism. The fact that you have a life. The fact that you have a life in this society, so you have to deal with the fact that you are this or are that. They deal with it every day, so why would it come up constantly in their lives? It doesn't. It's just part of your life.
Yeah, well, that's what Princess and the Frog was. It's just like, that's again, they went for a fairy tale aesthetic, and I dug that because, it's just like...
Yeah, but it makes such a big deal out of a black woman owning a restaurant.
No, well,
not only the fact that it's a black person owning a restaurant, but it's a woman owning a restaurant.
Well,
it's too aware of it. It's like, no, you just own a restaurant. You just do it. You don't make a big deal out of it because you're a woman.
Well, the thing is, she just doesn't want to own a restaurant. She wants to own a big restaurant. It's not like owning a deli or anything. It's like, I want to open up a big old place where black guys can wear tuxedos and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
I get that.
South.
And I don't want to focus too much. I don't want to focus too much on Princess and the Frog because we reviewed that already. But it's the same kind of. I'm having the same problem with it that I'm having with this. To be fair to Princess and the Frog, it's much less of a problem than it is in this. Yeah. It's too aware of its own history, and in doing so, certainly in this more so than in Princess and the Frog, it's actually ignoring the history, trying to avoid that problem, which is a weird thing to have.
It's trying to rewrite history. It's trying to be, PC, politically correct about it. And like political correctness is a thing. Sure, as a concept, it's great. Like, let's just be nice, and that's fine. But I'm like, if you're gonna rewrite history, like history is essentially dripping with blood and gore, and people in general are just like, we're fucking monkeys. The pale-faced monkeys just had guns that shot fire and death, while the other, red-skinned monkeys had sticks with sharp, pointy ends, Which monkey will beat out the other one, I just tend to look at humanity from an outsider's perspective, and
that is a good way to look at history, though.
Yeah. As grotesque and violent and cruel as they are, humans, I just dig them. As a species overall, they're just like, every time they fail, you feel sad, but when they succeed, you just feel so proud. The tiny success stories of humanity, just as they pile up, you can see it's slowly getting better. And they're not all monsters. They're not all, black and white, horrible, unspeakable things. They're just humans, and they're trying their best.
Holy shit.
What?
Milan, you're the doctor.
Yeah, I should have, the thing is, I really am. I was going to tell you...
That just sounded so much like a doctor thing to say, doesn't it, Steve?
I guess, yeah.
The thing is, I've been chronicling my adventures. I gave my story to the BBC because, you know what, I'm just going to stay here in Australia. This is my last...
This is my last life.
Yeah, this is my last life. I'm tired of saving the universe. I'm just going to sit back, look after an old man, smoke my weed, and just, make podcasts with a bunch of guys from America. That
is such a very strange end to the doctor's story. It's a little weirder than being the curator of a museum. I'll give you that much. That's really funny. Anyway, no, I'm sorry, Milan, but yeah, that is a very good point. When you look at history from an outside perspective, there's this weird movement in history nowadays, and I guess I'm going to try to get us back to Pocahontas by the end of this point. There's this weird movement in history nowadays to show history without war, because there's this feeling that historians focus too much on war, and I certainly admire that, but there's a reason we focus on war, and it's not because there's a clear winner and there's a clear loser. It's because it tells us a lot about the attitude of the time. That the feeling between these two nations was so strong that they had to kill each other to decide who was right. Yeah. That's a big deal. Wars don't just happen every day. It's not just recently that we're wary of war. World War II took a long time to get started because no one wanted to go to war. And World War I happened relatively quickly because everyone wanted to prove who was the best. Those say very, very important things about the attitude of the people of the time.
Yeah, and the thing is, war is every single war has a ripple effect. World War I had huge ripple effect over the world. Just because of World War II, World War I, America didn't want to get involved in World War II, and World War I, gave birth to Hitler, and he wanted to, the reason World War II was started in part was to justify the shitty treatment of Germany in World War I, and the whole, even with America, World War II was the only time where Americans were actually the heroes, and so America decides, we're going to try to get into foreign conflicts just to get that feeling of we being the foreign heroes again. We're like, hey, and so they get into more wars because they want to relive that whole, hey, let's be heroes. But,
so I was watching Criminal Minds the other night, and it's a really good series actually. They're doing an episode where this guy was like an angel of death, but not like the kind in the hospital. He was like a cop, and he would stage crime scenes and solve the crime or save someone at the last minute or whatever. And that's like the perfect metaphor for what America has become.
Indeed. And so it's just dude, back in literally, America did not want to join World War II. It took the Japanese to bomb the fuck out of them for them to go fuck this shit. You don't bomb Hawaii. Hawaii is like the little... the Hawaii is like the short round to America's Indiana Jones. So you don't fuck...
Oh my fucking god. Okay, getting off of that. So the thing about Pocahontas...
I just realized how racist that was. Dude, look, oh my god, like, white guilt is so much fun. I'm a foreigner, so I can say all this shit. It's amazing.
I'll say, I said this in the Indiana Jones review, and here's, I'll just say it again for posterity's sake. I just really want them to make a movie with Short Round and Jar Jar Binks, and they're gonna like go on an adventure together to, crusade for racial stereotypes in films, because frankly we don't have enough of them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the whole trope. That's just like, what happened to to that? That was a rich tradition.
Michael Bay kind of like inherited it.
Yeah, he brought it back. Like he's doing it old school.
Anyway, so I said something earlier, and I guess I'll use this to get back to Pocahontas. So you cannot be racist towards white people, and that's something that I say, and I'm explaining it, Milan. That's something that I say, and people get confused by, and they go, "Oh, that's bullshit. Black people can be just as mean and hate white people just as much." See, here's the thing: racism is not hatred based on the color of someone else's skin. That's what we have the word hatred for. Racism is about political power. So you cannot be racist against white people because you cannot possibly have the political power necessary to subjugate white people. Every system is built up for them. Even in other countries where they are minority populations. Every system in almost every country, with the exception of North Korea, is built up for the white man.
What about South Korea?
No, South Korea is built up for the white man. North
Why?
Korea, no. Because South Korea, America's this great, big, important ally. So they wouldn't dream of doing anything to fuck with the white man in South Korea. North Korea, however, they'll fucking hold your ass prisoner for 3 years when you didn't do shit. That's things that is a thing that happens to people who are not white.
You know what? This is like North Korea. If all you minorities try to start your own state, you're all gonna end up like North Korea. Just white people are like the greatest thing for civilization. Oh,
okay.
I'm joking.
Okay. No, so that's what I mean when I say you cannot be racist towards white people. You can certainly show white people in a distasteful way. You can certainly hate someone because they're white. That's fine. But you cannot be racist towards white people because racism is about political power to justify or to enforce your hatred on others.
I think you're inflating the word racism at that point. I think what you mean is segregation.
No, I don't think so.
Racism is nothing more than the belief of superiority.
Yeah.
And then segregation is literally making it so that you are superior towards someone else.
I see where you're coming from, but I think racism and segregation go hand in hand.
Well,
you cannot have...
No, not necessarily. Like, okay, if let's say a white guy goes to Africa, and everyone in Africa talks about the inferiority of the white guy that's there, then that's still racism, whether or not it's segregation.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's racism because then they have a political power there.
Well, no, not really. Okay, South Africa. South Africa, the white people have political power, but there's still black people that are racist towards the whites because of the whole apartheid thing.
I think it really has to do with population size. Like, for example, if you're...
Well, no. It doesn't... The thing is, it doesn't have anything to do with political power. Political power has everything to do with segregation. Racism is still only a system of belief, not a system of practical authority.
Well, that's what this is what I'm trying to say. Like, for example, if you have a population... Like, Japan, for example... It's mainly a very homogeneous culture. Like everyone's Japanese more or less, and you introduce like I don't know a white person there, and like it's mostly like fucking white person, goddamn tourists. It's like because there's a majority of that particular race that the outsider will obviously be looked down upon. Like the people will obviously have racial tendencies towards that guy. It's like fucking white person or fucking black.
Yeah, but here's what I mean by political power. It doesn't matter what their views are. They can't do anything about that white person.
Oh, sure they can, dude.
No, they really can't. They can. I mean, they could all fucking pull out samurai swords. Racism. They all fucking pull out samurai swords and cut off his head, and then they'd be on the news. But that's the thing, is they'd be on the news because that would be shocking behavior to do.
In Japan, not really. Not really. It's like, a white... Do you really think, like, in Japan, a white person died? Oh, you know?
No, I mean, like, honestly, you think if a tourist was just hanging out in, like, I don't know, the fucking, I don't know Japanese land. If you think a white person was hanging out on Mount Fuji and a bunch of Japanese people came and chopped off his head, that wouldn't be covered on every American news station?
Well, yeah,
I think it would.
Well, in America, yes, but like in Japan...
Yeah, that's the thing.
In Japan, in Japan it'll be like, white man died. Anyway, here's the weather.
Yeah, but like that's the thing, is I think... And to be fair, I am kind of exaggerating here. Like, yes, racism stems from a belief system, but in order to have racism, you have to be able to have segregation. Otherwise, you just have hatred. Like, you can hate someone all you want, but you can't be racist towards them unless you can enforce your hatred on them.
See, this is what I like about the Geeky Gentleman. We're so irreverent to everything. We'll just talk about anything in a quasi-intelligible way, and that's just
because I did just talk about Japanese people cutting off a guy's head.
Yeah, and it's like
that was pretty racist.
And since we don't have an audience, we're even below the notice of trolls. That's amazing. Oh, it's so good. We like I can say the N-word all I want and nobody will care. Dude, yeah. My little friend, my little brother's friends, like he has two little like proper Nigerian boys like that come over and watch TV with us sometimes. And like you know what's my nickname to them? Like I had a little brown Nigerian boy come up to me, put his hand on my shoulder, look me in the eye and say, "My friend, you are my nigga." And I'm like, like literally, like I'm the nigga now, and I'm like, wow. Yeah. But like I don't know, like I had a conversation.
Okay. Sure.
Anyway,
hold on. Let me give you a general rule that I use, and this is for everyone out there. If you don't know whether or not you're allowed to say the word nigga, then you're not allowed to say the word nigga.
Yeah.
It's a very simple rule. There's one exception to it. If you're using it in a hateful way, you're almost definitely not allowed to say it unless you're mad at someone that you already know.
Yeah.
And that's what's meant by the phrase "I have black friends." Is it's okay for me to say nigga because I have black friends. Like, not if you don't use it around them. Like, it just, if you hang out with enough black people, what happens is it gets thrown around constantly, and it just becomes part of your speech, just like anything else that happens when you hang out with the same group of people for a long amount of time. You just begin to pick up certain speech patterns.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure Steve has picked up something from me. I don't know what.
Yeah. Dude, it's so weird because I live in Liverpool and there's a huge like Muslim population here, and so Muslim slang is like Muslim slang is just kind of like Allah. Everyone's saying like Allah, like just like everyone's talking fucking Muslim. And it's so weird. That's just part of the slang.
Muslim is not a language.
No, Muslim. That's the actual how you pronounce it. Muslim. It's a Muslim. It's Muslim.
No, it's still not a language, Milan.
Well, it's a race. It's a religion. Is it? I don't.
Muslim is
Aladdin's people. There we go. Aladdin.
There we go. Muslim. It's weird. I don't understand how this works, but Muslim and Islam means the same exact thing. It's the name of the religion. Oh. I don't know why that happens. Like, usually your plural and your singular are going to be, the same word, but with an S on the end of one of them.
Yeah.
And it's just a completely different fucking word. It bothers the hell out of me.
I don't know. I guess it has, like, it's not an English language. It's not a European language, so it has different, like it's the same with Russian, too. Like, in Russian, like, it has those weird...
Oh my god. Completely, totally unrelated thing, but awesome. So the other day I was doing something with the TV and my laptop's black and it's really fucking reflective and everything, and there was some like writing on the TV, so my laptop was like closed and I was looking at my laptop and it was reflecting the TV, and like so the image was reflected upside down and all the letters look like Russian. So I figured out how to read Russian. All you do is reflect and turn upside down any normal English language. It totally works.
Oh my god. You figured us out. Oh my god.
Okay. Anyway, no, I get what you're saying, but let's get back to Pocahontas because we've been off for a really long time. This is a very great tangent. This is one of the better tangents we've had in a while, gentlemen. Steve, you've been unusually quiet this episode. I thought I'd broken you of that, so what I'm going to make you do is I'm going to make you bring us back to Pocahontas and talk about something you really enjoyed in this movie.
I really like the animation in this movie.
Yeah.
I think the animation's great. And Disney does a lot of things. Like, this movie, you can see the formula of Disney, and that's what makes it irritating. But the animation is still fantastic. No matter how stupid the whole colors of the wind and magic and shit is, the fact that the wind flows the way it does, and the way the characters move around and interact, and it's doing things in animation that we don't get very often, even in newer style stuff. Like Young Justice is a really good, well-animated series, but it's not as fluid as this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Young
And
Justice-
even the sequel to this isn't as fluid as this.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing is,
most Disney movies are not as fluid as like classic Disney, but this movie is up there with classic Disney.
Yeah. The thing with that is that's the reason everything's been moved over to like CGI, because with like traditional hand-drawn animation, essentially what you got to do is like you got to have a lot of in-betweeners. You see, you got the basic movement, but the thing is, if you want the drawn animation to flow right, you have to increase the in-between, the pictures in between.
The frames.
The frames. You
frames.
you have to increase the frame count, and the animation will look a hell of a lot more smoother. Because if you just have a flip book, the flip book has only a limited amount of pages, and you have to. That's why it's always all jittery and shit. You compensate for that jitteriness by putting more frames in between those jitters to have the thing go smoother. And with
speaking of CGI, the reason you use CGI so much is because
it's cheaper.
It's a lot easier. Well, no, not just that. It's actually not significantly cheaper because it's
easier.
No, it's not. It's really not. Because you have a whole different host of problems that you have to compensate for, but they're just not as easy to notice. Like, the thing with hand-drawn animation is what you make is what you get right away. Like, you draw it, that's exactly what it's going to look like when you're all done coloring it and putting it down. That's what you get. CGI, however, moves in large steps. So, I believe I talked about this at the original review of Green Lantern, the animated series, Season 1. The first trailer that came out for that looked like absolute shit, and then when the show came out, it looked amazing. And that's because it's so hard to show trailers for CGI because it moves in such big leaps. Because first you work on just getting your models to look good, and then you work on animating them, and then you work on making them interact with the environment, and then you work on animating their faces. So there's these big leaps, and you really don't want to start by rigging your character and then animating the face, because that'll cause problems when it's moving around, because the computer will lose information, and it'll fuck with everything. So you want to do it step by step so it moves in big leaps and bounds. There's a pipeline to it. Where with hand-drawn animation, you draw it, that's done. You draw it, you color it, you have the mouth open a little bit. That's done. That's your frame. That's all you're getting. Then you do the next frame and the next one. So it moves. It's a completely different way of doing things. The benefit of CGI is you only have to. This is a complete lie, but the benefit of CGI is you only have to make one model. Technically speaking, you make about 2,000 faces, and you make a different model for every set of clothes that they're wearing most of the time. But end of the day, you really are only making a couple different things as opposed to recreating the character from the ground up over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's why, like, in most animation, the character is always just wearing one set of clothes. It's like, because it's just like, you can't redesign and retrain everything. Like this is what they wear today. Every character has a set of clothes. Sure, it's iconography, but it's just like, we're not gonna change this shirt ever so slightly in every frame. We're just gonna make it as blocky and simple as animated as possible, like the Spectacular Spider-Man show. It's very blocky. It's very, like, the reason they picked that art style. Like, I like it personally, but it's the same one from those Hellboy straight-to-DVD features, but it's so blocky, and that's why the action in that show is so good, because it was easy to animate action, because the character designs were so simple and, basic shapes. You use basic shapes, and it's easier to animate. If you're, with this one, like Young Justice, it looks gorgeous. It's all anatomically correct, But that's why it has that anime feel to it. You know, like they always stand around and they talk. They're like, hey, how you doing? The mouth and neck moves a little bit, but overall they're just kind of standing there. You have the excellent fight sequences where they fight and punch and shit, and that's why I really miss traditional hand-drawn animation, because, like, I've been rewatching the Superman show, and the way they show weight in that TV show, in that animated series, when Superman lifts something up or throws something, it looks like it has some genuine weight to it. I'm not sure if that's American animation or Korean, because I don't know, like back in the 90s and even now, most hand drawn.
Okay. This is getting too far. But yeah, Steve, I agree that the animation in this is absolutely fantastic. I love the Colors of the Wind, despite the lyrics not making any goddamn sense, even if you know anything about Native
the
American
idea
culture.
not making any kind of sense.
No, Steve, you don't understand because you're not in touch with Mother Earth. That's
evidently
your problem,
not.
You're the soulless tech support Indian, not the. I'm so using that like all the fucking time now. I don't even care. You're the soulless tech support Indian, not the tree hugging Indian. No, like you see, it's just like they. That's the thing, the lyrics of the song, and I'm trying to be positive here, the animation's great, and the idea behind the song is great, is like, how would you know about nature if you never give it a chance, if you just destroy it the second you see it? Like, that's the point of the song, and that's great, and the animation that they do to it is very compelling, and it is, to a certain level, rhetoric, say, don't think about what I'm saying, just think about what I mean. And it's hard to do that, and I think, what the fuck is a blue corn moon? The fuck does that mean?
It's very Eastern philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it's just
Don't look at the yellow block, look at the yellow.
Like, here's the thing, I was trying to remember the word for it, but it was basically Hegel's philosophy is very much at work in what they're trying to portray as Native American, not religion, but general philosophy, I guess.
It's cool that you mentioned that, because there was, like, a reference to Heraclitus in the movie, so...
Really?
And I know Hegel really likes Heraclitus.
Yeah, and I don't like Hegel at all, because... if you ever want to go to sleep really quick, read some Hegel.
It's weird, because it's just like, if you look... You mentioned the whole Eastern philosophy thing. Like, that's Grant Morrison right there. Just like, don't look at the bat. Look at the yellow inside the bat symbol, yo.
Well, no. Grant Morrison's way more complicated than that.
I know. But I'm just joking around. But it's just like, this whole thing, is that an actual Native American song that they translated into English? Or is it just
I highly doubt it.
No, it's not.
It's probably just some, like, college-age Disney intern, white liberal going, I use that term white liberal. Oh my god, help me, you guys!
See, that's the song, like, if anything, and it's so crazy, because it's a good song, too. And you could make sense out of, like, can you paint with all the colors of the wind? You could make something out of that. But, once again, Disney, why not just have a Native American person that's really in touch with the culture write it?
They offered, Disney said no.
Yeah, I mean, like, the fuck were you doing? Like, if you wanted to show that you're, like, sympathetic to Native American culture and you appreciate them and everything... hire them! It doesn't seem like such a big leap.
If you do that, you're racist for some reason.
I guess.
Because
I don't know.
Historically accurate is racism.
It is. This is a little-known fact. Alright, so, I don't know, like, I love the animation style, too, particularly in Colors of the Wind when she turns in, like, that pastel look. Oh, that is absolutely gorgeous.
That is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, I mean, if you watch this movie on mute and just appreciate the imagery, really, that's not like an insult. It's like 89 Batman, of where there's a level to the visuals that isn't there anywhere else, and it's really hard to appreciate that when you have to focus on dialogue.
I agree. That bitch talks to a tree, and that's really fucking distracting.
That is very distracting. That whole
and it's good because they actually
just weird.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on drugs watching the movie.
Yeah, the CGI is just kind of... They actually use early CGI, and I'm like...
Yeah, I could tell.
It's just like, that is...
That's on the boat.
Oh, the boat? What's about the boat?
What the big boat that John Smith and them all arrive on, that's CG.
Really? I didn't notice that. That one I didn't notice.
It's hard. It's hard to notice Grandmother Willow until John Smith's, like, sitting on that root and it just fucking moves. I'm like, yep, that's CG. Because the way you can tell CG most of the time in a 2D film, which, you know, I don't know why you need to know this anymore since it's probably never going to fucking happen again. The way you can spot CG is volumetric shapes. Shapes that would contain volume. That really is very hard to do with a consistent width and depth and such in movements. Like, you know, you can draw a glass in 2D animation, it's going to look fine, but the second you start moving it around and stuff, it's going to be really hard to do, especially if that movement has shadows and interaction. It's so hard to keep that consistently.
Yeah.
So when that like tree branch moves and everything, that's how you can tell that it's CG because it's too perfect. So yeah, and it's almost impossible to fake 2D animation movement because, like, you know, it's just, you can't.
Well,
microphone.
So I can. My mouse is dead. I can't move it. Like, I gotta restart the computer.
Well, tell your brother to shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up, Mickey. Shut the fuck up, bro.
Shut the fuck up. Is your friends enjoying what I'm saying?
No, they're not. They're just telling you to shut the fuck up, bro.
They're giggling inside.
No, they're not. Just, I'll restart. Just keep, I'm gonna turn off the computer. Go ahead.
Okay.
Shit turned off.
Anyway, so, I don't know, I forgot what I was saying. No, the animation's perfect, but the lyrics they're just so out there, and they're trying to be to a certain extent, so I'm giving it some rope, and then it hangs itself.
It thinks it's more artsy than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard not to enjoy it, at least in that respect. This is a weird movie to review now in retrospect, because it's got such a reputation for being one of the worst movies ever made, and it's not.
Oh, no, not at all. And that's the problem, is, like, you can clearly start to pick it apart when you talk about it, but it's not bad enough that, like, you have to pick it apart, you know? You can watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, this movie isn't going around making kids, like, completely misunderstand Native American culture and colonialism. It's not teaching them anything about either one. It's really harmless stereotyping, if I can call it that.
Yeah,
like, you're not
I think
getting
so.
anything here that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
Yeah, it's not like racist stereotyping in like a negative sense, I guess.
No,
but
it's
also
really
not...
just using general information without fact checking.
Yeah, it gets into the problem of, like, you're making and this is a weird thing to say, it gets into the problem where you're making the native people much too sympathetic, because I'm like, you know, yes, they didn't do anything wrong that any other tribal culture wouldn't have done.
Right.
But that's the thing, they're a tribal culture. It's like, you know, this is going to sound bad, but they didn't do anything that I wouldn't expect a group of chimps to do. And that sounds really fucking awful, but that's the best way I can think of it, because, you know, we're talking about any civilization that hasn't invented writing yet is really just, socially speaking, they're not much more advanced than most animals, intellectually at least. Sounds so bad to say this. Steve, save me, please.
I see what you're saying, because it's not a matter of Native Americans not being a good heritage or a good culture. It's simply a matter of the time frame in which we're talking about the colonials and Native Americans meaning is a time when the Native Americans were not as advanced as they would become later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really racist or bad to portray them as they were during that time. And if you really want to compensate, then make the British worse than they were, because they were already pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, you know, the Native Americans are probably maybe a half step above nomadic cavemen.
Yeah, I mean, Native Americans, it's not to say that they weren't smart. It's just to say that they weren't exposed to anything. And that was sort of the problem when the British came along.
Not just the British, but the Spanish.
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
to be fair, you look at Montezuma and the Incans and the Mayans as well. They're all building fucking pyramids, and they did it just a couple thousand years after the Egyptians did it, but they had no contact whatsoever with the Egyptians. That's a big fucking deal. This is like, I guess this is social convergent evolution and understanding of mathematics and geometry, which is it's a big fucking deal. That's like really hard to do. Pyramids aren't easy to make.
No.
Especially with stone and minus calculators and cranes. So, you know, the civilization given time would have been more advanced and clearly in, you know, better climates where they didn't have to worry about winter and could be productive year-round, it was getting more advanced more quickly. The Aztecs, the Mayans, and the Incans all had written languages, and they were doing what the Greeks and fucking every other civilization did, which was learning how to keep track of time and create calendars and keep track of the seasons. They were all doing their thing. They all had their mythologies. The Aztecs, you know, they got such a bad rap as, you know, human sacrificers, and here we go again with Mel Gibson, actually.
I love the fact that he's in this movie, just saying.
Yeah, so much. You know, you got Mel Gibson and his whole movie, whatever that was, like, whatever it was about the fucking apocalypse or something, and, you know, the Aztecs, yes, they performed human sacrifice and ripped people's hearts out, and people go, oh, what a horrible thing for a civilization to do. I'm like, no, that was their religion. They believed, they had a mythology, and they believed that if that didn't happen every 52 years, I think it was, that the world would end. There are religions in the Western world that have done much stranger things. Was it a little, you know, awful that people were dying? Sure, but guess what? It's not like they, you know, captured someone from a neighboring village and forced them up the pyramid and stuff. Most of them fucking walked up there because it was considered a great honor.
Right.
It's just a weird thing in their religion at the time, you know? Give them time to advance instead of Cortez committing genocide, and you would have had a very different situation.
Right.
Now, like, that's honestly one of my favorite alternate history things is what if Cortez hadn't, or what if Montezuma had attacked Cortez upon his landing? Cortez landed with like 600 men, 12 cannon, and 6 horses, I think. And Montezuma had, you know, an entire army of, like, natives. So sure, they only had bows and arrows and things, but 600 men is not that hard to kill, especially when you have to, you know, reload for 10 minutes with a gun.
Ancient guns.
Yeah. So, like, it's honestly one of my favorite alternate history things is what if Montezuma had attacked Cortez, because then you would have had a major native empire in Native America before any other colonialism could have expanded.
Yeah.
Would have been a shocking alternate history.
Yeah. Funny enough,
and Cortez would have had access to guns and cannon, which, not to give too much credit to the Aztecs, but it's entirely believable that they would have been able to reverse engineer before the Spanish could have sent a second armada.
Yeah. There's a great book. Well, I don't know. I've kind of at first I was kind of lukewarm on it, but there's a book called East of West, and it's kind of an alternative look at the American history. It's all crazy, but essentially, the Civil War never ended. Well, it did, but it ended a lot sooner, or I don't know, something along those lines. And America actually is a bunch of countries. So, like New York, the place that was New York has now become New Saigon. The place that is like there's like a Native American nation like a part of the. It's all essentially the Americas is like essentially fragmented into a more Europe shaped thing, different countries instead of different states.
Okay, interesting. All right, so any other thoughts on Pocahontas? I was waiting for Milan to get back. Oh wait, shit, Milan, are you recording with Audacity again?
No.
Okay, go ahead and start recording. I can use a couple minutes of the Skype call if I have to, just in case. Sorry guys, we've noticed an audio error in the last couple calls. I've updated Skype. I'm hoping that it'll be fixed with just Pamela, but just in case we're using a different method to record if things sound a bit stranger this week. My apologies. Got Audacity going yet, Milan?
Yep, it's all working.
Okay, cool. Alright everyone. So let's go ahead and wrap up thoughts on Pocahontas here. Any final thoughts on it? I think I already asked.
It's okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good flick. It's enjoyable. Sequel's not awful.
Yeah, it's not awful. I wouldn't say it's good. I think it's really generic, but it's not this terrible straw man, horrible racist garbage that everyone hypes it up to be.
Yeah.
No, it's
right.
just kind of bland. It's essentially that white guy that's really ashamed of being a white guy, and so he's like, hey, I'm going to be really gentle. I'm like, that's sweet and all, but be honest, you know?
Mm-hmm. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a score here. I'm going to give Pocahontas, the 1995 Disney film, mute, please.
Sorry, there's a fucking ninja. Okay, go away, ninja. Stop killing people. God damn it. No, stop
mute.
It. Hold on. Trying to.
Nigga, mute!
I'm trying, motherfucker. They're all. There's just ninjas are attacking my brother. He's fighting them off. Okay, now he's being racist. I know you're killing them. At least don't be racist about it. All right. Oh, they're one of those soulless ninjas. Okay, they're part of the hand. They just turn into smoke when they die. Don't worry about it. Fucking Asians indeed. Okay, I'm good. Stop stabbing them, bro.
Still in the background, dude. Jesus Christ. Anyway, that was funny, but I'm like, dude, it's still in the fucking background. Anyway, so I'm gonna give Pocahontas, the 1995 Disney film, I don't know, like a 2.5 out of 5 unnecessary sidekick characters that completely distract from the plot.
Oh, we didn't talk about those. Those things are annoying.
Yeah, like the first couple times they're funny, and then they keep showing up. It's like, okay, we get it. The raccoon eats the dog's food.
Like, why don't they talk? Since if you're gonna go with the whole Native Americans are, in tune with nature, just have the animals talk.
I don't know, man.
Racism. That'd be even more trippy than the movie already is.
It's not. It's not. The thing is, it's not trippy at all. The whole movie is like, it's the most fucking ridiculously. It's the easy stuff. It's like it's not the hard stuff. It's not Lewis Carroll fun. It's just like,
oh Jesus Christ,
it's just a really weak stuff. It's like, oh, I feel so good. Look at the pretty colors. Everything's kind of purple. Neat. That's about it. Don't worry about it. Just ask. I'll give you some proper hallucinogenics. Once I get into the animation business, watch out, motherfuckers.
Oh my god, I would love to see Milan Jeftic art animated. I love doing it, but it's always very simplistic animation. I would love to see fully realized animated Milan Jeftic art. Anyway, so Milan, why don't you go ahead and give us a score then?
I give this film, let's see, 2 out of 5 reasonably, adequate shrugs.
Okay. Steve?
So I give this movie 2 out of 5 unusually funny racist Mel Gibsons.
but in this film, his racism is cute.
Well, mostly because he has no character, but We talked about that.
Yeah. All right, everyone. So thank you for listening. Next week, we don't know what we're talking about yet. It's going to be a mystery topic. We may have a guest. It's likely we'll have a guest. We're not completely sure, trying to get all the gears in motion to make that happen, but the wheels are spinning, I promise. So mystery topic next week. It will wrap up History Month. Everyone have a happy holiday of lies. And make sure to, steal something from an Indian person. Doesn't matter, like tech support or casino Indian.
They're all the same anyway. Doesn't matter.
Well, actually, it is kind of funny because, you look at the this is one of those weird things. You look at the progress out of Africa through up into Europe and out into Asia, and then the land bridge from northern Russia to Alaska and Canada, and then the dispersion all into America and South America and such. So technically, you've got a small portion of shared ancestry closer to actual Indian and Native American, which is funny. So there's that.
Well, am I
Asian American?
Am I secretly Native American?
No.
Oh. That sucks.
I'm talking far north Russia. What's not Siberian even, really, really far fucking north. The part that you can see, the part where you can see Sarah Palin's backyard. That part of Russia.
Whoa. Fucking Alaska and Russia interconnect? What?
They were at one point. There was a land bridge. Really? Russia for a time owned Alaska, right?
Real? Oh yeah, that's right. There was this queen that sold it to the Americans. Yeah, Papa.
Okay. Anyway, mute. Thank you. Jesus, I don't know why I have to tell him that. It should be a thing that he does.
Reflex.
Right? He should just. I can't move my mouse. Well, it should just be hovering on the mute button. Okay, give Milan's dad a second. Alright, fuck it. If he doesn't get a chance to say goodbye, then he doesn't get a chance to say goodbye. I don't care. Everyone, I'm yawning. Give me a second. Sorry, it's late. I'm tired. Everyone, thank you for listening. Until next time, I'm the philosopher.
And I'm the politician.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.